Hey, first of all, if there's anybody from Comic-Con here, we'd love to get some water on the stage, if you can do that.
That's okay.
Hey everybody, thanks for coming to the Whedonverse panel. My name is Scott Allie. My name is Scott Allie. I'm the editor-in-chief at Dark Horse Comics. To my left is Christos Gage, the writer on Buffy Season 10, after writing Angel and Faith Season 9. Nicholas Brendon, the co-writer on Season 10, who has also done other work with the characters. And Jane Espenson, creator of Husbands. All right. And Georges Jeanty, artist on Season 8, Season 9, Serenity, Leaves on the Wind. All right, great. We're going to open it up for questions in a little bit. I unfortunately don't have a slideshow because we've been so technologically challenged all week. But this image here, I want to tell you just a little bit about. The Whedon Three-Way is a one-shot, a $1 comic. If any of you are big Buffy fans or Angel or Serenity fans who aren't up to date on the comics, in October, this is coming out for $1, reprinting the first issues of Leaves on the Wind, Angel and Faith Season 10 #1, Buffy Season 10 #1. So for $1, you can kind of see what we're doing and see if you want to dig in deeper. And the title for that, we were trying to come up with a title that would encompass all those different things. And so I ran some ideas by Joss, and he shot that to me. And I said, that's great. I think your audience will love it. We put it together. We sent it to him, and he tends to write back a little slower these days. He's busy with some other work. But he immediately wrote back and said, oh, dear Lord, you're going with that? But I think that's good. But anyway, that one comes out this fall, around the time that the first collections of Season 10 and the collection of Leaves on the Wind come out.
Did he pitch Minaj?
No, he didn't come up with Minaj. They gotta hear the humor, Nikki. Okay, so as you probably know, we're well into Season 10. Christos, can you and Nikki tell a little bit about where we're at with the characters as we roll into Season 10?
We are, what just came out, issue 5?
Yeah, issue 5 came out Wednesday.
Issue 5, which ends the first arc. As you know, as we talked about before, this season we're very much beginning a process that just began with Season 9, which is getting back to, well, with 8 he went big and cosmic, and then I remember at the Season 9 summit he said he wanted to get back to down to earth and to the, as down to earth as the Buffyverse gets, but focused on the characters, and we're still trying to do that. And at its best, Buffy has always been about people going through life stages that we can all relate to. Just they're doing it with supernatural and monsters and demons. And now they are at the point where, sort of post-college, early adulthood, where you are having to make decisions that are probably going to affect the entire rest of your life. And we're sort of dramatizing that in the idea that the vampire book, which Giles gave to Buffy in Season 1, now that magic is new on Earth, it was empty, and slowly words are starting to be filled in with the new rules, and our guys have realized that that it's their responsibility to write the new rules of magic, which is a huge responsibility that terrifies them, but if they don't do it, someone else who may not be as nice is going to do it, and they might just decide that, hey, they really want all human beings to be, chicken nuggets. So that might happen. So our guys really have to, I'm now older than I care to admit, and I still don't feel like a grown-up. I don't know that many people ever do, but...
He's 43.
No, you're 43.
We're both 43.
We're both 43. And, you don't feel up to it, but at some point you gotta just put on your big boy pants and do it.
Nikki, what's it like dealing with the characters again after being away for a while?
Well, I have one thing to say first. I love grapes, but I hate raisins. It's crazy. I can't stand them. So it's interesting because I was talking to Christos yesterday. We were at the pool bathing together. And we were talking about I have a hard time writing for the other characters because since I was an actor on the TV show, I know I was an actor on the TV show. I know Allison as Allison, and I also know, but I saw more Allison than I saw Willow. You know, so it's hard for me to kind of get into that particular, just because of those small things. But with Xander, because Xander and this guy Nikki are very much alike, outside of being Maquettes,
yeah.
which I looked up today on Google, and I love them.
Yeah?
I would get more of the houses though, not those weird creatures. I like the houses.
Okay.
Are there houses?
There are, yeah. They're like palaces and stuff.
It's a big upcoming storyline.
So right now, I'm really good at Xander. I'm really great with Giles because he's a kid, and then just kind of like some arcs and stuff, just things like that. But in terms of writing dialogue for the characters, I just can't get my mind into that because I know them too well.
What do you think is the big difference between how Willow talks and how Allie talks?
Oh my God!
A lot more swearing from Allie.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Willow doesn't say bitch, you know. Like that's the thing. The first time I saw her on, was it How I Met Your Mother, or it was that movie she did, like Bringing All the Boys Out or whatever, and she was swearing, and I'm like, no, that's Allison. People are like, oh. I'm like, no, that's just who she is. So it's so it's easy for me to write Kid Giles and Xander.
So when we started season 8, a long time ago, it was Joss started it, Joss conceived it, and started sharing parts of it with all of us, including Jane and the other writers who came on. But when it was time to do season 9, we did this writers' summit at Joss's house. Christos was there. It was his introduction to the Buffyverse. I'd met him in a bathroom at a convention, and that led to him writing all this stuff.
It happened.
That's how that happened. But yeah, and that was kind of your reintroduction to what we're doing. You were there for the season 10 writers' summit in wherever we were.
The hotel.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, it was crazy because apparently I met his wife that I don't think exists.
Yeah, he thinks I'm lying. But he met her.
Yeah, it was my first summit, so I didn't know what to expect, and we were all in a circle like a coven. And then these ideas started to kind of, we talked when I walked to Starbucks at one time with the whole thing about the magic book, it was a race.
Right.
I'm like, how the hell did that? And it just happened. It was just like, and I was trying to...
That's a writer's room, the magic of a writer's room.
Trying to figure out, it was just spinning real fast, and I blinded me a little bit, it was very bright. It messed up my hair, it's the wind. But, yeah, it's crazy.
Jane, with the way we've done the writers' summits, how does that compare to the way the room worked back in the old days?
The old days. It's compared to the Buffy's writers' room.
Specifically.
Yeah, very similar. Yeah. Oh my God, I do. I go so far back. I go way back before Buffy. The Buffy room was very unique in that it was so very top down. That it really was, all the big ideas came from Joss, and the rest of us were just sort of scampering around underneath him with baskets trying to catch the ideas as they fell. In other writers' rooms like Battlestar, it's so much more collaborative. Ron Offenbach wasn't even there, and it was the rest of us sort of trying to craft this thing and try to shape the individual bricks and put them into place. So I feel the same thing happen in the writers' room when Joss is there. There's sort of everybody's talking, but then when Joss says, everybody stops and looks at Joss, and you get the verdict. For the part of the summit at the hotel room, we didn't have Joss. It had that much more sense of feeling of everybody working, but the magic that is Joss, this universe that he built. The second he comes in, I think there is a sense where you get a little more quiet and a little more just listen to him.
It was really funny because we had been there for probably like 2 hours doing this stuff, and then Joss comes in, and then everyone's like, "Okay, this is what we got," and then here's Joss. This is my first day for Joss. This is called Buffy the Vampire Slayer, right? Where's Buffy? These great ideas. We should maybe talk about Buffy. It's just so sweet how much he loves.
Yeah, he has
Buffy. He loves the character.
Loves the character and always has an eye on the overall shape of the show. And so I thought that it was very much when Joss steps in, you go back and you're back in that Buffy room again.
So I want to get to George's a little bit. Have you been reading season 10? Have you seen much of season 10 yet?
Yeah, now that I'm not involved in any way, I can actually read it with an eye of like, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know where it's going to go, what's going on. But I will say, and I was talking to Nick about this yesterday a little bit. It does feel a little like I'm watching my girlfriend with some other guy now, because she's not with me anymore, and it does seem a little bittersweet to read the books, because obviously you're always going to be critical. And mind you, Rebecca is a great artist, and I think the book is in great hands, but it's not in my hands.
Well, and George's was in a unique position, because when we did season 8, we changed writers every 4 or 5 issues, but George's drew almost every issue of that thing.
Yeah, I got to work with a lot of the great writers from the TV show and some comic book writers, Jane, of course, and it was just great. I was loving it. And it was something, whereas I didn't know so much about the Buffy history and how intense it was, I was just feeling very fortunate. But yeah, if I were to do that today, knowing the caliber of people I would have worked with, it would have been too overwhelming for me.
Yeah, and then when we did season 9, it was split between you and Rebecca doing the different parts. But so of course, George's just completed the 6-issue Serenity Leaves in the Wind, which was a great series. Zach Whedon wrote that with Joss kind of supervising, but it was really all Zach. What was that like getting into did it feel, besides the space and the number of characters, did it feel like a totally different thing, or did you still feel like you were doing Joss's world?
There was a familiarity, obviously anybody there. I'm sure we have a lot of Buffy fans, we have a lot of Firefly fans, and we may have the same, but I've realized also there are some very serious Firefly fans and very serious Buffy fans that might not all meet in the same area. And I was conscious of that coming into it, and I really approached Serenity, or Firefly, whatever you want to call it, more with an eye of let me get away from Buffy and let me put myself in this, Firefly mode. And because of that, I think, the book definitely struck a different chord. It had the echo of Joss and that universe, as all of his good work does, as you all well know, but it did feel a lot different drawing it. It was a lot harder to draw that particular book.
I see a Kaylee out there sitting with a Lauren, so clearly the Serenity fans and Angel fans.
Oh, yeah.
Jane and Georges, what do you feel like are the difference between the Buffyverse fans and the Serenity Firefly fans? Do you see a difference?
I think that's a really interesting question. Yeah, you addressed this notion that it's a separate group. I always think of them as one group of fans, of which I count myself a member.
Right, because, you were in it when it was there, it was being formed,
right.
And everything was there. I'm sort of coming in after the fact, where it's sort of like everybody who's going to choose sides has already done it now for years. And you've got the stragglers who are just finding the shows, but pretty much you've got your fans on one side and your other fans on the other side. So the delineation was very much there. I can see maybe for you it was a little more convoluted because you were doing both shows.
Doing both at the same time, yeah. I think Buffy, I was going to say something. Buffy was a little lighter, a little more whimsical, but I'm not sure that's true. Buffy got damn dark. And Firefly has wonderful light moments. One is more fantasy and one's more sci-fi, maybe. But I've always felt that sci-fi often defines a genre less than it's just a setting. Battlestar Galactica would be the same story if it were a war here on Earth, just on a regular aircraft carrier. The setting just gives you a metaphorical way to tell the stories a little more truthfully. So I think it's hard to imagine a person who's like, I love Buffy, but that Firefly, I can't stand it. I think if you like Joss's writing, you may prefer one or the other because of an actor you hook into or something, but I gotta think if you love the writing, you love that writing.
Yeah, I think with the comics themselves, and this is something we'll see as hopefully more of Serenity comes out in the future, I think the interest might be a little more intense, only because, obviously, with Serenity, we only had 14 episodes in the movie. With Buffy, we had 7 years. I mean, you pretty much went through everything you probably could have gone through in 7 years. And a half. And with Serenity, it was so cut short, and it was obvious that it was cut short, and the idea that these characters could go on for a good 7 years, 10 years, for however long, is very evident, and I think we'll only see that now in comic books as they come out.
That may be the real difference, is people who enjoyed the fact that Buffy was so fulsome, had so many years, and people who hook into the fact that Serenity ended with all this potential. People who love potential versus people who love completeness.
Two quick things. I just want to, Georges, do you want to mention the book that you're doing for DC?
Oh yeah, I'm well, obviously not doing Buffy, but I'm over at DC now. I'm going to be doing Batwoman for them, which strangely enough will incorporate vampires this season. So anybody interested, please come on over.
And we're working with Georges to figure out, we want to keep him involved, keep him in the loop. So we've talked about little things that he'll be able to squeeze in, but hopefully we'll have something, much bigger down the road to bring him back.
Yeah, she's my girl. I can't ever leave her completely, so I certainly won't be gone for long if that's the case.
And Jane was given an Ink Pot Award at Comic-Con last night.
Amazing. I was so surprised. I had no idea. Just suddenly like, hey, it's this, your panel is suddenly a little bitty award ceremony. I was like, what? This is great.
So the image that I just flipped to up there, that's actually, it's half of the cover for season 10, number 8. Steve Morris did this really cool wraparound cover. Obviously, if you're familiar with Steve's covers, it's a really different style. But issue 8 is part of a new program Dark Horse is doing called Starting Points, where we're trying to give new readers or lapsed readers a chance to jump back on a book that they haven't been following or that they were curious about but haven't checked out yet because there's so many back issues to catch up on. So Christos wrote issue 8. It's the first of a 2-parter, and it's a great place if you haven't been reading Buffy to jump on and try this. Do you want to tell me a little?
Yeah, it's called Return to Sunnydale, and that may tell you a little something about what happens in it. I'll be looking. Several of the characters will be looking back at some things that happened in Sunnydale and how it informs who they are now. I think it's a good. It's a great thing. It's a great point for people who may be familiar with the show but have lost track of the comics to dip their foot in and see what they think, because they'll be able to follow it, but hopefully it'll also intrigue them to be like, all right, let me catch up on these other things. And another cool thing about issue 8 is, in addition to 14 or how many pages? In addition to 19 awesome pages by Rebecca Isaacs, there are 3 wonderful pages by Richard Corbin, the legendary Richard Corbin, who is a hero, an artistic hero of mine, and who, ever since I realized Scott knew him, I've been whining and complaining and stomping my feet about wanting to do something with him. Finally, Scott couldn't stand it anymore, and made it happen. And it's all cool, slimy monsters, and it's sort of a tale of the Slayers. It's set in the past, and so I hope you all dig that too.
Yeah, it feels like a little bit of a career high to have figured out a way to get Richard Corbin to draw part of a Buffy.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody in this room cares about Richard Corbin besides the two of us, but it's amazing for us comic book people. So issue 8 is a starting points issue. It follows issue 7, which is the last one you two have written together, right?
Well, we also 11 and 12.
That's right.
Yeah.
We're way ahead. We're on top of the schedule thing. But issue 7 is the next one to come out, written by the two of you. And it's a funny story. Actually, we did a Twitter contest. I don't know if any of you all saw the Twitter contest we did a long time ago, because we do the covers so far in advance. But we did a Twitter contest because we wanted to do an Odd Couple riff on the cover with Xander and Spike as Felix and Oscar. But in the office, we couldn't agree on who was who. So we had Rebecca do 2 sketches. We put them up on Twitter, and we had fans vote. And if I recall, Xander is Felix. Once.
Felix is the more clean one, right?
Yes.
Yes.
You almost said effeminate, didn't you?
No, I was going to say fastidious.
But tell me a little bit about that issue. It's a really fun issue. It's very light on Buffy.
Well, in the summit, Nikki was pointing out that how much fun they had on the show when you and Spike were roommates. And
which one I had? I don't think Spike loved to be kind of like in charge of the man. James did play Spike, so I don't think he liked being tied to a chair, but
I know he didn't like the Hawaiian shirt.
there was just so much comedy to be had.
Yes.
Yeah. And I just loved it.
so we're doing it again. They're going to move in together and being roomies, and
it's really wonderful.
Hilarity will ensue.
It's nice when you can, I think we were talking about this yesterday or something, but it's nice when you can write stuff and not have actors to say, oh, my character wouldn't say
Oh,
that.
God, it's wonderful.
Oh, my
Rid of the
God.
actress.
Your character will say it, and
Yep.
he is going to say it. If God wanted to give you a brain, he would have given you a fucking brain. But it's really great to kind of just mold that and have these characters who just get
I will say that one random email I got when I started working with Joss on season 8, the first arc, he just said, "Hey, I just wanted to say thank you because I love this. It's just you and me. I don't have to go through production people. I don't have to go through cinematographers, directors, key guys, anything. It's like, it's just, I write it and then you draw it." It's almost like he couldn't comprehend the concept because he's always been in such control of so many other things. So yeah, he got that very much impression.
Yeah, somebody likes to remind me what position on the call sheet he was back in the day.
Which is a huge, doesn't really matter.
About I don't know what to spoil. 7. It's a fun episode. It's Buffy does not figure much into it in terms of her physical presence, but she looms large as a presence in the story. And then 8 and 9 very Buffy focused, and Willow and Andrew is coming to the fore in some upcoming stuff that Jane has been kind enough to advise and contribute on.
Yeah, Drew Greenberg and I both weighed in a little bit on something that's going to happen in this upcoming episode, and it's fun. I mean, with Husbands and Once Upon a Time, I don't always have time to be in writing full issues, but to get asked, like, what do you think about this? Here's a little bit of dialogue. Is this dialogue how you would hear it? That's so gratifying and so nice.
My favorite thing about Jane is because I do the same thing too. I'm not sure if I can get back to you today, but I will get back to you like an hour later. Here's some amazing stuff.
Jane's a machine. Nobody is more. I don't know that there's anybody out there more prolific and on the ball than Jane Espenson.
Because I'm terrified that I haven't done it yet.
So if anybody has questions, I'm going to ask you to go to that mic. I think there's only the one mic, but you got to use the mic because then everybody in the room can hear your question and we don't have to repeat it for you. So go on up and do questions. Is there anything else you guys want to plug before we get into questions?
At the very end, can we say
Sure, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I've got a movie called Coherence out. You should see. It's a sci-fi thing called Coherence. It's called Coherence. And I'm still shooting Criminal Minds.
Okay, first question.
Hi, Jane.
Hi.
First off, congratulations on your award. That's really awesome.
Oh, thank you.
I don't know if you remember me at WonderCon. I was the Must Be Bunnies girl and took a picture together.
Oh, cool.
In the bunny suit. My question's actually for Nikki. So you guys were talking about how, like, you know, it comes kind of naturally for you to write dialogue for Xander because, you know, you played him for so long. When it comes to the other characters, like, does it ever get to a point, like, if you're not sure, like, what she or he would say, like, do you talk to the other writers, or do you ever, like, I don't know, call Allie and say, like, hey, y'all, what do you think Willow would say about this? Like,
No, I mean, it's just, I had, especially with the three, with Allie, and with Sarah, those are, I had such a history with them that was more personal than it was TV,
Right.
so it's just not going to happen. It's just not going to, like, I don't see them as those characters, I see them as the beautiful people that they are. But typically it's like I'm at Andrew's fun too.
Oh, Andrew's so much fun.
Andrew's the most
And
fun.
Tom Link is delightful. And yeah, you could totally call Tom Link that.
Yeah. But so I just kind of, it's just, when we get together, it's kind of that same thing. It's like all of a sudden these ideas will just kind of happen. So I don't really have a process. I know it's going to shock.
We do. The funny thing is, too, we'll get together to talk about an issue. Like, we've gotten notes back on an issue, and we'll do review revision, and we'll talk about it. And, you know, we get together in a little cafe, and I eat, like, pancakes, and he's nibbling away on a salad like the healthy fellow he is. And we riff, and a lot of times we'll come up with stuff for future storylines while talking about a completely different one. So it's very natural and organic. And I always say, I think if you're gonna co-write, especially in comics, you should have people who have different sets of skills that complement each other, because if you have just two people who do the exact same thing, what's the point? You're just duplicating it, and he's obviously, he says he's a trained actor. No, he's a trained actor.
No bullshit, you said that yesterday.
I did? Trained. All right, fine, he's an actor. I'm a writer, and we approach things differently, and I think I've become a better writer as a result of seeing the way he approaches things and talking things out, seeing how it sounds coming off the tongue. So I think that you want a whole that's greater than the sum of its parts.
But you both share the sense of humor of a character from Porky's.
Yes.
You got that. They meet in the middle there.
Yes, we both have the 13-year-old boy sense of humor.
I actually have a thought on the finding the voice of the characters, like, because my first thought was, you'd want to check with the writer, and then I thought, like, there's great fanfic out there that shows there's a whole lot of people out there who've totally mastered the voices of these characters. If you've watched the show and you have a writer's mind, whether you're a professional writer or not, you know how Willow sounds.
Would you ever, when you're having a hard time with Willow, would you go to fanfic?
Go to fanfic. Let's see what Willow says.
Yeah, see what these people are.
She's
Ooh,
saying,
that's good.
She's saying,
I'll
Giles,
change.
Giles.
Okay, perfect.
Cool, thanks guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What's up, guys?
Hi.
A big fan of all you guys, especially Nick and Jane. My question is, what is your guys', and this is for all you guys, what's your favorite type of pizza?
Your type of pizza.
That, by the way, great line delivery. What's your favorite type of pizza?
Nice. My favorite type of pizza is the type of pizza that my relatives at the Westboro House of Pizza in Massachusetts make. A New England Greek type of pizza that's awesome. I like the mushroom.
This guy's the best plant I've ever seen. Well done. Well done.
I'm a Hawaiian pizza with jalapenos.
That sounds excellent. I wrote a line for Michelle Trachtenberg once about anchovies, the most delicious of all the fishes, and there's a reason I wrote that.
Did not know that.
I'm a boring guy. I just like cheese, and Pizza Hut has very sentimental value to me. So that's my go-to pizza.
That's where you lost his
Tim
virginity.
Weish. Tim Weish, the Vice President of Business Affairs at Oni Press, made pizza at our wedding, and that's my favorite pizza.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are you taking an order?
Absolutely. Now you got us thinking about pizza.
You've got about 22 minutes to get that on stage.
Or it's free.
So both Buffy and Firefly have such fantastic, complex characters that have been brought to life so well both in the show and in the comics. And my question is, how do you build those characters and what's that process like?
I like to let Joss Whedon do it,
Yeah.
and then I find that works out pretty well, and just kind of, what's interesting for me with the characters, this happens with characters that I create, characters I've been reading a long time in comics, like Spider-Man. When I write Spider-Man, I know what I think Spider-Man would do because he's well established, and it's the same way with the Buffyverse characters, because they've been so well established by everyone who's done them before that I feel like, I know how Spike would react to this, or what Faith would do in this situation. And I don't know that I'm always right, but hopefully there are folks to tell me if I'm not. But do you know what I mean? When there's a strong voice, you kind of know.
But one of the things that we've tried to do with the comics over the course of 3 years is slowly move some of them ahead. Like some readers have actually complained that we haven't changed them quickly enough. And there's been, complaints that we don't get something right. But I do feel like over the course of all this stuff, we've evolved some of them a bit. Like Xander in particular went through this rage thing, which is now sort of in a different place. So when you've got a character as established as Xander through 8 or 9 seasons of stories, and then you've got to do something different with him, what was that like for season 10?
It was just so neat. Do people know that Xander's getting...
I don't think it's a big spoiler.
so Xander's in therapy, and his name's Dr. Mike, and he loves talking about Dr. Mike, and he's actually learning a lot. So it's kind of like, with that, it's neat to read what Chris writes about. It's just, he's really empowering right now, and he's giving a lot of advice, and even to people who don't even really want to hear it.
It was a lot of fun when the moment when Dracula commands Xander to tell him the truth about his appearance, and he's brutally honest, and then he goes on to say, but I really think you're not thinking enough about who Dracula is in here. And it's like, all right, stop. That was a lot of fun right there.
The thing about complex characters, I think we've lived with the title Buffy the Vampire Slayer for so long now that we've stopped noticing how inherently funny the title is, that someone named Buffy is a vampire slayer. And I think starting with an apparent contradiction like that is a great place to start building a complicated character.
And the thing is, what I've really found, I think some of the complaints people have is because, it's been 10 years since the show ended, but the characters they're aging in comic book time now, so whereas Nikki is 43, Xander is in his early to mid 20s.
I was 25 playing 15.
There you go. So, they are changing it, and in fact, the Return to Sunnydale arc, there's, I think, will show pretty well how some of the characters have grown.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Hello.
Hello.
First of all, thank you so much for the new Serenity comics. They're amazing and everything that we've all been asking for so long.
And I hate to say this, but visually, where's your teddy bear?
They don't sell teddy bear patches in any fabric store in Texas
So
at all.
you didn't commit to the costumes when you saw
What was my question?
I'm kidding. See, and that's the first thing I'll notice because I spent so much time on everybody's costume. I'm like, excuse me.
I couldn't find the right teddy bear patch.
Spend the time.
So I found teddy bears, but not the right one, and I wasn't going to put a teddy bear that wasn't the right
Well, all right, then I don't see the hair up very often on a Kaylee, so you get points.
Yeah. My question is, do you ever find that other projects that you're working on, that the history you have with the Whedonverse, Buffy, and Firefly, ever kind of finds its way into newer projects, maybe on accident or on purpose, that it influences the work you're doing outside of the Whedonverse?
Yeah, so well, certainly for me, and a thing that became very famous unintentionally, totally, was that Doctor Who made an appearance in Buffy, and that was only because I loved Doctor Who, and I did it thinking, oh, nobody's ever going to see this. And that's probably the one thing I still hear today. Oh, that was so cool that you put Doctor Who in there. I was like, yeah, it was just supposed to be a very subtle thing. It wasn't supposed to last this long.
I find myself all the time writing in Joss's voice, like, how would Joss write Cheeks in Husbands or something, and once you've got Whedon voice in your head, it's a very good thing to keep it there as long as you can.
Yeah, it definitely for me, especially when I was writing a book for Marvel called Avengers Academy, there was a lot of sort of thematic and emotional crossover between that and the Buffyverse. It really informed it a lot.
Working with Joss taught me so much about how to make an action-adventure story really mean something and really make it be all about the characters. Don't ever let it just be about the action that's happening. And so everything else I work on, whether I'm editing or writing, I'm trying to bring something that I learned from Buffy, to that.
Yeah, one huge lesson I got off of watching all of Buffy and Angel in a row, it was on the commentary on the episode The Pack, where Xander was part of the Jaguar people or whatever they were. Hyena people.
Jaguar. I like Jaguar.
Jaguar. The hyena people.
Yeah.
Damn it. He just wanted to do that. He wanted to do the rock. There's a commentary where Joss says that in that episode, originally Xander it didn't happen to Xander too, and he realized that if something doesn't happen to a character we're invested in, you just don't care. And that always something I keep in mind.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks.
Hi everyone, my name is Rebecca. First I just wanted to say to Nick, I just saw you in the independent film Coherence and was just blown away, so...
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. If you have see it if you haven't seen it, it's really wonderful.
Yeah. It's an excellent movie, I recommend it to everyone.
Yeah.
So my question, and you all may not be able to answer this, but it's about another show in the Whedonverse. I was just wondering if there's any plans to expand the very few graphic novels of Dollhouse, and if so...
A big part of how the Dollhouse comics got made was working with Jed and Marissa. One of the problems is that people who work on shows with Joss, writers who work on those shows, tend to get these amazing careers, and they look at comic book money and they say, "Oh." So Jed and Marissa and Andrew really worked out all that Dollhouse stuff together, and they worked out things to do subsequent to that. But then Jed and Marissa got really busy, with S.H.I.E.L.D. and other stuff, and Andrew is
Andrew's
now incredibly well. He was very busy doing everything he could to keep up on Buffy season 9. So we couldn't talk about doing more Dollhouse while he was struggling to balance season 9 with Once. But now he's even busier with
Yeah,
once.
he's
right?
doing more at once than ever before. So he sits right across from me every day, and I know he would love to do more Dollhouse. But yeah, everybody's super busy.
We were lucky. There was one point in Andrew's career where he was working on a show that he was less excited about, and it was really easy to get him to commit long-term to comic books. And now once makes him really happy, so it's harder to say, no, we'll let you have fun writing. We'll let you enjoy yourself.
I should let you guys know, I've got literally nothing going on.
All right.
So yeah, you'll be seeing some more Dollhouses. And my Nikki Brendon. Sweet Nikki B is going to come here.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Hi there. My question's actually for Nick. Since we were talking about the differences of Allison and Willow, I was kind of wondering, how do you think you are similar to and different from Xander?
We were again talking about, we talked a lot yesterday. The only thing that's different from Nikki and Xander is that I wasn't raised with comic books. I didn't know what a maquette was. Right, maquette?
Right. I think
Maquette.
is it pronounced maquette?
I think
It's the statues.
So I wasn't as versed in that culture as much because when I was a kid I discovered baseball at the age of like 9, and I had a really bad stutter, so I just needed something to focus on, and it was just baseball, and Three's Company, and chips. Fantasy Island scared the shit. I don't know why I just did it.
There was that one with the clown.
It was something. It was a Halloween episode. I'm like, what the way? How did you go from Love Boat from 8 to 9 to then Fantasy Island? It's so I just really focused on that. It was very shy, and so. But sense of humor wise, a lot of the writers, maybe Jane can back me up on this, but when you're doing a show for 7 years or 8 years, it's easy to write the character as the actor speaks.
Oh yeah, that's true. There's sort of a bleed through that happens, particularly if you get to know the actors, where the characters start sounding more and more like the actors.
And I talk a lot.
Yeah, but
so
now
it's hard not to get to know me.
Yeah, now that everything shoots in Vancouver, like we never talk. The once writers never meet the once cast, so that doesn't happen so much.
It's probably good though.
I don't know. It was. I loved the way we worked at Buffy, where we could just run downstairs
That was such
and
a
know
great
the
fun
actors.
time.
Yeah, it was great.
All right, well, thank you guys so much. You're all lovely.
Thank you.
Hi everyone, thank you so much for being here. Huge fan of everything you guys do. My question I think would actually primarily be for Scott. I was wondering if you would know for Buffy season 9 and beyond, if it would be getting the same treatment as Buffy season 8 and getting released in those beautiful hardback library editions, because it was so much more immersive to read it in those large things. And I was just wondering if there are any plans, because I keep Googling and there's nothing yet on a release date. So.
Your voice is exactly like Amy Acker.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you sound just like Amy Acker.
You put a southern twang in that, though?
So you're talking about the oversized hardcover.
Yeah, the
right?
library edition.
Yeah, season 9 is about to get that treatment.
Oh, really great.
Yeah, we've just started the work on those. Actually, the way that our business has evolved over the years, working with the bookstores and Amazon more, we've already done almost all the covers for the library editions. The library editions for Buffy and for Angel and Faith, season 9, all the covers will be done by Steve Morris. Steve is that guy, and he works in a lot of different styles, and we worked really closely with him to come up with a really unique visual approach that will link the books together. You know, Joe did all the covers for season 8 library editions and came up with a strong premise there. So Steve's doing something really cool. It'll make a great set of books. It'll be 6 hardcovers. Willow and Spike, those graphic novels, will be dropped in the middle in the appropriate place. And you'll get, George has recently sent us a monster crop of behind-the-scenes artwork. So the Buffy season 9 hardcover will have some really, really cool stuff in it. And yeah, it'll be each one will be 2 trade paperbacks plus additional material in a really nice oversized hardcover. And Jeremy, do you remember when the first one comes out? Yeah, I think the first one's in spring. And again, there will be 3 Buffys, 3 Angel and Faith, with Willow and Spike dumped in the middle.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Sure. And yeah, eventually we'll do that with season 10, but my approach with the library books is to wait until all the trades are out there, so you've had a chance to buy all the trades, if that's how you want to have it, and then we take a little bit of a historical look back by putting together the libraries.
Hi, I have 2 questions, but one is just a one-word answer. So, Dowling or Dowling? How do you pronounce his name?
Doling or Dowling?
Oh, Dowling. Right?
Dowling. I
Yeah,
pronounce it
Dowling.
Dowling.
Did anybody understand that question? It's Lieutenant Dowling is a character that Buffy has a little bit of a maybe love interest in, and we haven't really dealt with him yet in issues that are out. Right?
Dealt with him, yeah. In
Those issues are already out?
Issue 2, she went to him and was like, listen, I know we're starting to date, but I think it's not, we probably shouldn't take it further because when normal guys date me, it doesn't work out for them. And he was like, okay, that's very nice and mature, and I agree with you, thank you. And she was like, what? And it was a great little exchange between her and Willow that I know Rebecca had a great time drawing and did beautifully.
Yeah, Willow was sympathizing with Buffy because Buffy was so irritated at his very understanding response, and Willow was like, that jerk.
Yeah.
That was a great bit. I was thinking that wasn't out yet.
And he keeps coming back because there are so many occasions where I'm like, we could use a cop character here. Oh, let's bring Dowling back. So,
yeah.
I mean, one of the first things I did is I said to Scott, can I reduce the cast a little bit because there were so many people with, some people miss Billy, the Vampire Slayer, who I adore, and hopefully Jane will have the opportunity at some point to do something more with him. But I was freaking out because there were so many characters. Every now and then Dowling pops up.
A lot of characters in 22 pages.
Okay, and my other question is, when Angel stopped being Angel and started being Angel and Faith, a lot of the characters there were sort of shed and lost and just were they just show up for brief periods. And so Willow and Spike had their own comic, little cutaways. So is there any chance, or has there been any thought of doing something like that for Connor or Gunn or Harmony, I guess?
Yeah, there's a lot of potential there, but the way that we're approaching the seasons, we're really trying to tell focused stories. And if a great opportunity comes up, if a great story, if we really feel like we need to address a character going off on a side, with season 9, the Spike miniseries and the Willow series both did things that really needed to be done narratively that couldn't be done in the monthly book. So with Angel moving to England and trying to do what he's doing there, there hasn't been that much opportunity or need to address those other characters. This is going to lead once again to people saying I'm a bad parent because I don't care about Connor, but I apologize. It's not that I don't care about Connor, it's that Connor's kind of living his life and he's just not a part of what's happening.
I really enjoyed writing the Connor arc last season in Angel and Faith, but I also feel like the poor kid deserves some normal, happy life, and normal, happy lives are super boring to read about, so that's why he's sort of on the back burner right now. Harmony and Clem will show up in Buffy number 10.
Clem!
Yeah, we all, in season 9, we loved the way that Chris dealt with Harmony, so we were excited to figure out a way to do it.
She is so much fun to write because you can just channel all your, when you're at the DMV or something and you're just like, I'm smarter and better than everyone in here, and you can just live that through Harmony, which you're probably not, let's face it, even at the DMV, but I feel that way because I'm a sociopath.
Okay, I think we got 5 minutes. I think we can do 2 more questions if we go a little quick.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Hi, this question is for Jane. I heard the interview with the Writers Guild a while back, which was really interesting. One of the things you mentioned and didn't sort of finish up on was that, which I hadn't heard before, that some of the writers on the Firefly crew saw the parallels between themselves and the Firefly crew. And you mentioned that you were Kaylee and Marty Noxon was Zoe, and of course Joss was Mal. But I'd like to hear the rest of that, who the rest of the crew is.
Well, that's an interesting question. Who is Wash? I guess I could put Doug Petrie as Wash and Steve DeKnight as Jane. Yeah. But beyond at a certain point, the parallel breaks down. But I always felt the Joss and Marty as Mal and Zoe always felt very apt to me. And I always sort of hoped I was Kaylee. Maybe I'm Jane, the name's the same. I don't know.
So was Tim in that mix, or Tim Minear?
Oh, Minear? No, Minear wasn't part of the Buffy staff when that was being developed. Sort of, I think that Tim wasn't in,
okay.
wouldn't be in the math.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Let's make it a sequel.
What, make a sequel so that we can put Tim in it? Sure.
Hi, first of all, I apologize, wrong fandom.
Oh, but it's a good fandom. It's a very good fandom.
It is, it's great. So this question's for Jane. I was wondering, what's one rule of writing that you absolutely live by?
Rule of writing that I absolutely live by.
I think right.
Yeah, write and don't, if you've ever heard it, don't write it. So often people will hear a funny joke, they'll hear, so what part of X didn't you understand? And they'll go like, oh, that's funny, I'll put that in. And it's like, no, if you've heard it, it's not funny anymore. No joke's funny the second time you've heard it. There's always a way to write your own fresh joke.
Okay, so Georges, where are you going to be signing?
I'm going to be signing yesterday at 2 o'clock. So I hope you all come by. That's it.
And when's your first issue of back?
First issue is in October, November of Batwoman, hopefully.
Jane?
I'm signing 1.5 hours from now in Artist's Alley. The table number is GG16, and I'll be signing there for an hour. I'm also signing there again tomorrow at 11 a.m.
I am in AA31 for the next 4.5 hours. See what we do.
Anything else you want to plug?
I'm signing at the Marvel booth tomorrow at 11 to 12.
And books coming out?
Books coming out. Spider-Verse team up, Superior Spider-Man 32 and 33, and I think that's it. I'm working on something top secret that I can't discuss.
You'll all hear about it soon. I'm writing a monthly Sapien series for Dark Horse, and we just announced Fight Club 2 is coming to comics next year, and we've got a panel with Chuck and David Fincher later tonight. But thanks everybody, all of these guys, we've got their work for sale at the Dark Horse booth. Come on by.
Thank you.